ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe. This is East Coast Sports Investors Closing Bell for Monday, December 4th. Apologies for my lack of production abilities here. I don't know what the heck happened there with my intro there, but here I am. You've got me for this fine Monday afternoon / evening of short slate of action for the most part here. Typically, these are some recap shows, kind of recapping football world, college football and NFL over the weekend, and I will do a little bit of that. But I am rocking solo today. Mr. Jeff Dawson had some prior engagements, so he will not be with us today. I'll be flying solo, and as per usual, these will be a little shorter and sweeter than our pairing shows, and especially our Monday recap shows. Obviously, if you're tuning in, you are probably aware of what went down in the world of sports this weekend, particularly football. And obviously, the talk around town is not only the games that we just watched Friday and Saturday in the top end of the college football world. Obviously, the selections that were chosen yesterday morning, or revealed, I should say, yesterday morning, with the Crimson Tide eking out the undefeated Florida State Seminoles. And obviously, a lot of people going back and forth on this one, and I see both tokens on this one here. But for anyone who's upset about Florida State not getting in, I absolutely understand. But in my opinion, if you wanted to see a team lose by 40 points, then there's really no point in us having this, top 4 teams getting into this thing here. So I am very much on the side of being okay with Florida State not being in there, as much as they had a fantastic season, 13-0. So if you don't like that, I apologize. But at the end of the day, this team was not as impressive without Jordan Travis. Obviously, a small sample size. But one of the best or the second best wins of the season was Alabama taking down Georgia this past weekend, the 2-time national champion. Even if you want to take away that and look at this season alone, we're talking about a team that just took down the pretty much start to finish number 1 seed or number 1 ranking in all of college football. And the only loss they had is another team that's right ahead of them in this top 4 here. Meanwhile, obviously, Florida State had the opening week win against LSU. Had that one come later in the season, maybe this is a little different. But I personally was not sold on this Florida State team all season long. Obviously, if the goal is to get the undefeated teams in there, then I understand. If that's what we're doing, then there's really no point for a selection committee. Then we just get the 4 teams with the best record in there. So from that standpoint, the solution is to expand it, and alas, we have reached at the point where we will be expanding next season. Of course, this would have been a great one to have expanded because there's about 8 teams that I think are worthy of getting a shot at playing for this one. I should say now that Oregon has lost, 2 losses kind of weeds them out of there. But at the end of the day, they were a very good team and, at least deserve to be in that conversation in the top 8 there. So I apologize if you want to throw stones at me for Florida State not getting in there. But Alabama, especially after that win the other day, was one of the best 4 teams. And we're going to get an awesome game here against Michigan. If you don't want to use gambling into it, that's fine. But the look ahead line for a Florida State Michigan game certainly would not have been the 1-2 points that we're seeing with Michigan and Alabama. It would have been probably double digit spread with Michigan and this Florida State team. And frankly, like I said, I thought Florida State should have lost to Clemson earlier in the year, 28-yard field goal or something like that in the fourth quarter, botched by Clemson. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be having this conversation altogether. So maybe that's a little abrasive and not very apologetic towards Florida State. Obviously, they have every right to be pissed off, but they're going to be playing against the Georgia Bulldogs here in a few weeks here. So, alas, that is obviously what we got there. You've got Michigan, Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Would have been nice if you would have gotten a 2-3 Michigan, Washington, Big Ten, Pac-12 to kind of see the Pac-12 off into the sunset. But that should be an awesome game, Michigan and Alabama there. And then Washington, Texas. I'm drawing a blank on the actual bowl that one's going to be playing in. But nonetheless, that one should be an awesome game as well. Michael Penix obviously has risen as Sugar Bowl, of course. Has risen to every occasion this year, and not just the 2 Oregon wins, a really tough Pac-12 schedule there as well. So I aside from that, I was all good with the 1 seed for Michigan, 2 seed for Washington, 3 for Texas as well there. So that's what you get there. I know here at ECSA, I know Jeff gave out some Alabama futures not a handful of weeks ago as well. As some Oregon ones, which obviously didn't get through the door there with Washington, but obviously plenty of ways to crack that one along the way there. So very excited for these 2 games that we'll get with whatever the matchup is in the actual championship game. Will be very, 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 very solid games there. So very pleased with what we've got coming up for college football in a month or so. A little less than a month, and obviously still waiting out the Heisman decision here in I guess I don't know exactly when, but a week or 2, I think. And nonetheless, weekend of football. Obviously, I'm flying high. The Packers get the 27-19 win against the Chiefs. Was a very, very poorly officiated game. I am not going to deny that. The missed call and pass interference was obviously there. But I think there was calls both ways throughout a lot of that game, and especially in the fourth quarter, both ways that were poorly officiated, just plain and simple. Maybe not as impactful as that lack of a pass interference on the deep ball, the Marcos Valdes-Scantling. That obviously was the most impactful, but the unnecessary roughness, they didn't just say it was a late hit, didn't say it was to the head or anything like that. Not sure what is unnecessarily rough about that. If it's not to the head or not late, obviously it's the face of the NFL in Patrick Mahomes. But that was a clean hit in bounds for my measure there. And then the Hail Mary. It's a Hail Mary, and you got to be pretty doggone blatant to get a penalty in the end zone on a Hail Mary there. So Jordan Love obviously looking really, really turning the season around. There's still points where I'm not saying he's, the second, third coming, whatever you want to call it here. Made some questionable throws, a couple of questionable throws, got lucky on a couple throws, obviously. But the offense looks night and day. Christian Watson was fantastic. Obviously, hamstring issue. Fortunately, the schedule is a little easier coming up here for the Packers. Next week, they get the Giants in New York. So hopefully won't be missing him, assuming he's gone for at least a week there, Christian Watson. But beyond that, very pleased with what we're seeing out of this Packers offense. And from a Chiefs offensive standpoint, I think they're going to be fine. But at some point here, they've got to get things turned around and rolling offensively because their defense up until last night had been playing obviously a lot better than their offense there. Handful of ugly games in the NFL yesterday. Chargers, Patriots. It was as ugly as a game as we've seen in a long time. Imagine not a lot of people, even the fans of that game, were watching that one start to finish with on the edge of their seat or anything like that. That one was an ugly one. Cardinals take care of the Steelers. Steelers offense continues to look ugly. Mitch Trubisky, that one obviously kind of rain delay, whatever you have it there, separated a little awkwardly there, but Steelers offense continues to look abysmal there. Colts and Titans played actually one of the more exciting games of the day. Colts special teams making the big plays to be the difference there, and I think the Titans fired their special teams coach today, actually. Broncos-Titans was another a close game. It was a little sloppy at points there. Broncos offense kind of came back to earth a little bit, especially Russ, some mistakes there. Lions offense looks great out of the gates and then kind of holds on for dear life. That defense really looked ugly for a lot of the second half there, and then kind of just held on there. No Derek Carr down the stretch. Jameis Winston trying to force the envelope, obviously, as he does, and did not, come to fruition there. Taysom Hill, bizarre offense there for the Saints. Unfortunately for everyone, the Saints and everyone in that NFC South, or the 3 of the 4 teams in NFC South, are still very much alive, despite being very bad teams, or at least very bad teams for the consideration of a division playoff team. As the Falcons, another disgusting game, second ugliest game of the day, 13-8 over the Jets. Jets offense obviously putrid. Go to Trevor Siemian halfway through, or however many quarters into that one it was. Obviously, still very, very ugly for that Jets offense. Jets defense plays well again. Can't do enough there. Dolphins just whomp the Commanders by 1 million points. Commanders looking ahead, obviously, to the offseason. I think their players are probably going to start seeing some coaching changes there soon. Tampa Bay takes care of business. Another ugly game, 21-18. And then the Niners obviously take care of business in the second half there against the Eagles. Good game for the first quarter and a half or so, and then like I said, the Niners kind of pull away with that one. Eagles obviously a little regression was due for them a little bit there. Niners in a spot where they were kind of well rested and chomping at the bit to get some revenge on that one a little bit there. So huge game for the Eagles and the Cowboys and really the entire NFC playoff outlook as far as the top seed and the division winner of that one is concerned. Eagles and Cowboys coming up on Sunday night this upcoming week in Dallas. Eagles after that, Seahawks, Giants, Cardinals, and Giants. So not exactly the toughest schedule after that one, even if they do lose that one. As someone who is optimistic and had a ticket for the Cowboys to win the division, obviously optimistic that the Cowboys now have a chance, but Cowboys after that, Bills, Dolphins, Lions, and Commanders. So 3 really tough games after that Eagles game, to where not crazy to think that the Cowboys could lose 1 or 2 of them if as opposed to winning all of them. Obviously, they could win all of them and take this division, but still looking like the Eagles division to lose, even if they lose this game on Sunday against the Cowboys, but obviously still going there. And then Rams take care of business against the Browns. Flacco actually didn't look, all things considered, trying to move the ball a little bit for a good defense. Their defense was not fantastic against Stafford there. Puka and Cooper Kupp had some big plays there. I shouldn't say Cooper Kupp had a big play. He had a touchdown, but Puka had some big plays. Big 70-yard touchdown there. And then Browns just can't really capitalize in that game there. Didn't look terrible, Flacco. Like I said, kind of taking that with a grain of salt, but didn't look terrible. But obviously, AFC playoff outlook becomes a little more interesting with some of these injuries. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and the Colts still 7-5 in the 3 wild card spots with Houston tied with them there. And then you got Denver and Buffalo right on the outside there. So still 5 teams. If you're not counting Cincinnati, if you're giving them a loss, then they're 5-7, and obviously a little further out of this picture. If they win somehow tonight with Browning, then they'll be back in the picture. But I think for the most part, a 5-team race here, unless the Chargers or Raiders can come up with something there without looking at their schedule. I don't know. But that kind of leads us into tonight, my friends. Bengals and Jaguars in Jacksonville. This one. For Jacksonville, they are 8-3. Not as much as it seemed like they are kind of in control of this division. If they win this, it'll be 2 up on both the Colts and Texans, and that'll give them some better control. But if they slip up and lose this one, it's still anybody's game there. And then, as I mentioned, Bengals 5-6. If they had any hopes of a nice playoff run or push here with Jake Browning, this would have to be the start, but obviously not a lot of people expecting that one. This one appears to have risen to a 10-point spread after, I believe, being at 8.5 most of the week here. Let me double-check that. I think 8.5 for a lot of the week, even 9.5 leading up to it. Kind of just steady climbing there as the week has gone on. 9.5, now up to 10. And I think a lot of people are just expecting this Jaguars team to take care of business here. Total at 41. Is a little interesting here. You got the Bengals 14.5 on their team total, Jaguars 25.5. And I think the only thing that would give me cause for optimism for this Bengals team, obviously offensively, it's still a huge question mark. Did not look good against Pittsburgh last week. It's that this defense could step up and kind of keep this one close and cause some problems for Trevor Lawrence and this Jaguars offense. I like a lot of the things the Jaguars do, but we've seen them lay some stinkers from time to time, or even first half stinkers have to claw their way back. But this Bengals defense is still, people are kind of writing this Bengals team off altogether, and I am for the playoff race. But defensively, this Bengals defense can still do some nice things here. And I think that's the one thing that people are kind of shying away from. Again, take it with a grain of salt. The Pittsburgh Steelers offense stinks, but played well against Pittsburgh last week. The week before, not chalking too much up to that. You lose Joe Burrow in the middle of your game. The team kind of just lost all energy for that game altogether there. So I'm still kind of buying into this Bengals defense a little bit to maybe make a play or two and put this offense in position to be okay. Again, I think the Jaguars win. This is not me sitting here saying, hammer away in the Bengals at all, let alone the money line, of course not. But I do think this Bengals defense can make this a semi-interesting game here, and I think it could set the Bengals up to score a few points here and potentially even over that 14.5. You had a Jake Browning that was okay in that relief against the Ravens there. Again, still a lot to be seen. I'm not saying I'm buying stock in Jake Browning in this offense without Joe Burrow, but I think this Bengals team is going to come out with a lot of fire and passion in this game tonight. They're not writing off the season, the guys that are in the locker room, and I do like this defense to a decent degree here. So, at the end of the day, I think you could see the Bengals getting up over that 14.5, whether that be one or two nice drives and then a nice defensive, stand or big play or something to get themselves into good field position or something along those lines. But I'm kind of leaning towards the Bengals going up over 14.5 team total. As goofy as that sounds, that is where my heart is lying for tonight's game. I need a big one for Travis Etienne for fantasy purposes, so I would not be okay if this is a 41-17 game and Travis Etienne's got a boatload of points and the Bengals go up over that. But nonetheless, that is kind of where my heart is lying. If I had anything for a touchdown score, as we usually do here, you're getting minus money on Travis Etienne. No, thank you. Christian Kirk is actually a guy that I've really liked in this Jaguars offense. His numbers are a little lower. It's a little concerning there. But Christian Kirk has had some nice chemistry this year with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if I like Joe Mixon today necessarily. I could see. I know this show has been not very bullish on him, but if T. Higgins is active tonight, wouldn't surprise me if T. Higgins and Jake Browning have some type of a connection from a possession standpoint. I am a little nervous about Ja'Marr Chase. I saw a fantasy writer saying he was still optimistic and not panicking and still reassured by what we saw last week with Ja'Marr Chase. And I kind of completely disagree. 6 targets total last time out in the Bengals game against the Steelers. Maybe not as many possessions, but ties a season low in 6 targets. And 2 of them were kind of deflection, they were deflections, bounce coincidentally right in his breadbasket. One of them for a big gain there. So, I hate to say, he shouldn't have had him because it was lucky, but that was the case. Should have had 4 catches for, half the yardage there. So I'm really concerned with the usage of Ja'Marr Chase. Obviously, they could make a concerted effort to force the envelope to Ja'Marr Chase and open the playbook to completely direct it at Ja'Marr Chase, which they probably should, and prove me wrong from what I'm saying here. But I am concerned about Ja'Marr Chase and what I've seen previously so far with him and Jake Browning there. So not reassured by what we saw last week because a couple of his 2 biggest plays were deflections right into his breadbasket. Total coincidence there. So very concerned about him. T. Higgins, if he's playing, though, maybe there's a nice possession receiver type connection there between him and Browning, but that's kind of a wild card toss there. So give me just give me 17 points from the Bengals tonight. That's all I'm going with tonight, my friends. So outside of that, there is a one college basketball game worth talking about, Iowa and Purdue. Purdue actually loses to Northwestern, loses their number 1 status over the weekend, Thursday or Friday night. I don't remember which one. 88-92 game at Northwestern. Lose as 5.5-point favorites there. Total 135.5. So that one, obviously, Northwestern kind of sneaks up on them there. Iowa, still the same, for the most part, the same Iowa team that we've seen the last handful of years, except they don't really have a star. And they're 5-2 right now, losers of the couple of games that they've played against better opponents here. So I think this line is kind of right spot on here. But this total 165.5. These Purdue games have been kind of flying over the last few days here. Their totals have been really high, and that's kind of where Iowa likes it. Obviously, I could see them trying to slow things down a little bit. The number, I think the number screams over, but it is. You had a 160 finishing total last year on a 149.5. It just feels a little inflated to me. Gun to my head, it does feel like it goes over, but it does feel a little inflated to me on the total. 13.5, 14 on the game spread there. You really just don't know what you're getting from Iowa. Are they red hot? Are they not? Is Purdue's 3-point shooters red hot or not? So this is a tough one to get into. I think Purdue will bounce back and get the win here. So I don't think it's an upset special, but you can see a lot of different things going on here. Both these teams. Purdue has got Alabama this weekend. This is obviously a bigger game for them with the conference game. Iowa's got Iowa State though, and obviously maybe they'll give more emphasis to a highly ranked conference opponent. They probably should, but obviously Iowa State for pride senses and good non-conference game, that is a big one for them there, and they got Michigan after that. So I think Purdue takes care of business and bounces back, but again, you never know what you're going to get from an Iowa game here. So 2 games in the NBA, and then we'll get out of here. And alas, it is the quarterfinals of the NBA in-season tournament. We have gotten here to the elimination round. I don't see quite as much buzz as I think the NBA was hoping for the finally one to get to elimination games. And I do like the idea of an 8-team bracket. You've got, as far as this tournament is concerned, you've got, I think I counted 4 teams that in their group play went 3-1 and didn't make it here because of the goofy. I mean, Jeff and I talked about the goofy tiebreakers with point differential. I don't know if it's an easy way to shake it out, and you kind of just could do. I guess it wouldn't make sense because these are regular season games, but at the end of the day, when you have 3-4 teams that go 3-1, take care of business, and only lose 1 game in their group play. That's pretty tough to leave those teams out. So obviously it would, if it's 12 teams, maybe that fixes this solution. And maybe there's a couple of 2-2 teams. I don't know, but this one feels weird. And I think leaving this many teams out of the actual quarterfinals is diminishing the interest a little bit. I think obviously I think NBA fans probably weren't super interested and still trying to grasp the concept of this altogether, but. You got 2 games tonight. A couple decent games. I mean, if anything, if these games are just better quality basketball games than a random Monday in early December, then by all means, let's go. But you got Boston and Indy tonight. In Indy, actually, Indy gets the home court advantage here. 5.5-point dogs to the Boston Celtics. 246 on the game total. If you haven't been paying attention to these Indiana games, these totals are absolutely out of this world high and absolutely bonkers. This one is actually a little higher than what they've had the last handful of games. They had been going over, and their totals were even higher. Dipped it down 240.5, and I think that was the one we talked about as one we expected to go under. They tick it down a little bit to 237.5 each of the last 2 times against Miami, and they both go flying over. Boston typically lives in the 220-ish range for their game totals, so kind of meeting them down down a little lower, I guess you would say, in this one, but not really because we're still up over 246. So I think you could get the over hitting in this one, and this one flies over. But I think if I was respecting Boston side, I would respect a 15-4 Boston team to be higher than 5.5-point favorites. So I am kind of leaning towards the Pacers to keep this one close, cover or even win this game here. The motivation factor of it, I guess, is a question. Do any of these teams want it more than the others? I don't know. At the end of the day, I am kind of leaning towards this one being a Pacers number. If I was respecting the Celtics, 6.5, 7, maybe even, with the way they've been playing and the way they've had some of these spreads here. You had a 5-point spread at Orlando week and a half or so ago, and the Magic win that one outright. So I'm kind of leaning towards the Pacers taking care of business here and at least covering this game. And and being the reason why this total again goes crazy high there, and up and down game. So if you haven't checked out the Pacers game and you want to figure out why these totals are so high, tonight is the night. But I'll lean towards the Pacers on that one. The other one, Pelicans and Kings. I've been on the Pelicans a handful of times, not this last week or so, but they've had a little bit of an ebb and flow season, not quite getting as much respect as the days where they are right. They are a really solid team, and I've been fortunate to be on some of those days here. Kings at home here, 11-7. The public trendy, maybe not tonight. I think it's closer to an even split on tonight's game, but obviously the public trendy team in general the last couple of years here has been this Kings team. They're 11-7, won 3 of their last 4, taking care of some business at home here. Just beat the Golden State Warriors, lost to the Clippers, but then beat the Nuggets all at home this last week or so here. So I think you're getting some positive public perception coming back for this Kings team right now, whereas the Pelicans just lose to my Bulls in Chicago a couple days ago. And like I said, just been a little roller coaster season. I would respect the Kings up 4.5 or higher or so. So I'm kind of thinking this is another one that's a Pelicans number. After you shake it down with both games, I could kind of see one of these favorites and one of these underdogs covering or winning. As much as I like both underdogs, I don't know that both underdogs are going to get into the window here. I'll say the Pacers cover and the Celtics win, and I'll say the Pelicans cover and win in Sacramento here. I don't think we're lighting the beam here tonight. I could obviously be proven very, very wrong. But as I said, I've had a decent eye for this Pelicans team and on some of their, whether it's bounce back games or short numbers against a team that people have a high perception for. So honestly, from that perspective, I am kind of leaning towards this Pelicans team coming off of that loss to the Bulls a couple of days ago. As for the total, up at 237.5. Another one that for these teams, for the Pelicans especially, the Kings, this one's kind of living right where they typically are a little bit here. This one's ticked up a little bit after the last couple, 231.5 on the 29th. I guess that's probably less than a week ago. That one goes flying over 248 on the finishing total, and then ticks it up to 235 against the Nuggets, and that one finishes at 240 there. Now we're at 237, so I guess I think I'm going over with because the Pelicans live typically down in the 215s range, 220 range, every once in a while a little higher than that. Their totals, they've had some higher totals, but 232 is and 227 against the Jazz. Both those goes under. Now the fact that you're raising this one up higher after they have had some higher numbers go under kind of leads me to believe that this Pelicans, if we were respecting the under, would have been more in the 220s range against this Kings team. So I'll go Pelicans. I like the Pelicans. I'm more of a lean on the over here, but I'll go towards the over as well and some points out of this one. But of course, I'm not sure what the buzz are. If you're seeing a lot of buzz for these NBA games as we lead into it, and the public is smashing the over, then maybe back off a little bit. But as I'm staring at it right now, it just ticked up a half a point in my face as well. So that is what I've got out of those two games. I do kind of like Brandon Ingram to potentially score some points. I lost his point total tonight, if I can find that one there. But that was the one out of that game that I do like. 22.5 at juice way over. So maybe if you can get 23.5, 24.5, something like that. Get him to a nice evening at some plus money. I like that a little bit there. And aside from that, that is all I've got out of the NBA slate. Out of those two games, tomorrow's 2-game slate, continuing the quarterfinals. 4 teams tonight, 4 teams tomorrow, and then we've got semifinals later in the week. Knicks and Bucks. Tomorrow night, as well as Suns and Lakers there. So aside from that, without further ado, I do not have too much else. Obviously, if you're seeing right here, pardon me, Wager Wire is a fairly new partner of ECSI. If you've been paying attention for a few weeks here, you've obviously been hearing us talk about this. But if you haven't downloaded the app yet, please go do so. It is a very, very very useful and really a wide range of uses for WagerWire's app that they have on Mo. I believe all app stores. I apologize, I don't have a full list of everything there. I usually am not the guy rattling off these promos necessarily, but our WagerWire partnership has been very, very fruitful. It will continue to do so. I believe in the coming weeks, if not going into 2024, we will be planning on having some, I don't know if demo is the right word, live demos or something to that effect, where we kind of showcase and show off what WagerWire can do a little bit there. But aside from that, great people over at WagerWire. They will not be going anywhere anytime soon. They are very good people and have been very helpful to us, and we are very, very, very thankful for that partnership, and have already made a lot of people successful bettors in the small sample size that I've seen of people using their app there. So definitely wanted to make sure I shouted them out before I do anything else. But aside from that, thank you all for stopping by. A little bit shorter for our Monday show, a little bit shorter. A little bit longer for a solo show, I guess. I typically go a little shorter than that, especially with a short slate. But nonetheless, thank you all for stopping by. This is a lot of fun. I'm sure Jeff and I, when we come back together, we'll do a little bit more recapping together. We kind of bounce ideas and thoughts off of each other to get something, outlooks for the future as far as the football world goes. But thank you all for stopping by. I am not, at least somebody will be back here this time tomorrow for a closing bell. I'm not sure exactly what the setup is. But without further ado, thank you all for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed tonight's action, NFL, NBA, and college basketball, NHL, whatever you got going on. Best of luck. Hope you win everything you got, and I will see y'all later.